Okay, good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for having me. Today we'll be discussing collision regulations, Rule 3, possibly Rule 4 is just application, and Rule 5. So I believe Captain Sobajo and Captain Afolabi have done the needful, because Captain Sobajo have answered questions even in annex during his oral examination, if I can remember it. So he's quite familiar with the rules very well. Yes. So as they have introduced, the rules are divided into two parts, Part A and Part B. You know, you have the general and there's the steering rules. So the first part has to do with application, which I believe they have discussed about it in Part A, which consists of Rule 1 to Rule 3, which has to do with general. And last week, I believe we have discussed Rule 1, which is application, Rule 2, which is responsibility. And today we'll be discussing Rule 3. And like I said, Rule 3 is the background of collision regulation, because that's where if you go to maybe Rule 14, when you have overtaking vessel, they say, okay, a power-driven vessel is doing this, a power-driven vessel is doing that. If you go to a fishing vessel, if you go to restricted ability to maneuver, it just talks about it. But Rule 3 actually defines all these classes of vessels. You know, they will say, okay, a vessel shall, so far as possible, avoid alteration of course to port. You know, what is a vessel? You know, they will say, okay, a power-driven vessel on the way, you know, shall have a max headlight forward, the second max headlight, abaft, you know, the forward one, you know, side light and stern light. So from rule number 3, you'll be able to know what is a power-driven vessel to be able to apply the subsequent rules. So Rule 3 is all about general definition. So for the purpose of this rule, they said, except where otherwise requires, the word vessel, we'll start with vessel. The word vessel includes every description of watercraft, including non-displacement craft, WIG craft, which is wing in ground, and seaplanes used or capable of being used as a means of transportation in water. So the first, the A part, it simply means any watercraft, anything that moves in water that is being used as a means of transportation in water is defined as vessel. For instance, you have non-displacement craft, military crafts, seaplanes, you know, everything that is capable of being used is the definition of a vessel. You know, a fishing vessel is a vessel. You know, a sailing vessel is a vessel because it's being moved in water. When in ground, you know, they have the tendency to fly and also to land in waters. You know, seaplanes also have the tendency to land in water. So any object, I would say, or any form of watercraft, you know, that's been capable as a means of transportation of water is referred to as a vessel. So a vessel doesn't have to mean like those particular solar vessels that we discussed in our previous lectures, like vessels that are used for primitive use are not classified as solar vessels. But in the case of collision regulation, anything that is capable of being used as a means of transportation in water is referred to as vessel. So from vessel, there's another important definition. We have seen the definition of vessel in general. You can even say a canoe is capable of use as means of transportation in water. It's also a vessel. You know, a sailing vessel, that is something that is under sail. It's a sailing vessel. It's a vessel. So, but there's an important difference here. Sometimes when you hear the word a power-driven vessel, what it simply means that is any vessel that is being propelled by machinery. For instance, in your oil tankers today, they are being propelled by a machinery. Some fishing boats are being propelled by machinery. Some sailing boats are not propelled by machinery, so they are not power-driven vessels. We are going to see the definition of those sort of boats later. You know, anything, that is being used as mode of transportation in water and is not being propelled by machinery is not a power-driven vessel. However, if it is being propelled by a machinery, then it's a power-driven vessel. And please, as we go on, if you have any question, you can stop me along the way and ask. I'll be happy to clarify any question, because this is an interactive class. So the next one is sailing vessel. The term sailing vessel just means any vessel under sailed that has been used, that sailing vessel, even if you have the, this propelling machinery, if it is fitted, is not being used. So the only thing that a sailing vessel use is under sails. Even if you have some sailing vessels have this propelling machinery that makes them a power-driven vessel, but they don't use it, they only use sails. So that's where you have the definition of a sailing vessel. So for instance, if you go to Rule 17, where you have responsibility between vessels, and they say, okay, a power-driven vessel on the way shall keep out of way of a vessel not under command, a vessel restricted in ability to maneuver, a sailing vessel, a vessel not under command. So sailing vessel is not the same as power-driven vessel. It might be fitted with propelling machinery, but is not being used, only sailed. That's where you refer to as sailing vessels. So very important. The next one is about vessel engaged in fishing. What is, sometimes you might be asked in your oral examination that what is a fishing vessel, or what is a vessel engaged in fishing? There's a difference between a vessel engaged in fishing and a vessel engaged in trolling. So I want to throw this question out, to the whole class. What is the difference between a fishing vessel and a fishing trawler? Anybody? Or maybe Captain Apolabi can select one of the candidates to answer this question.
I was just about to do that, sir. Because JJ just quickly off his video when the question came. But yeah, it's EA. Are you in the class? Let's see you. Don't worry about the right or wrong answers. Just what do you think? Difference: fishing vessel, fishing trawler. Victor, are you there?
Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Hello.
Loud and clear. Okay, anyone?
Okay.
Kelvin.
Seems like I can't hear you. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Go ahead. We can hear you. EA. So anyone that's available can speak, please.
I said a fishing vessel is a vessel that uses any vessel that uses nets, lines, and fishing equipment that restricts maneuverability, while a trolling vessel is a vessel that uses other apparatus which does not restrict maneuverability.
Okay, that's good. I believe it's all displayed there. So yeah, so basically a fishing vessel is any vessel that is fishing with nets, lines, trawls, or other fishing apparatus that restrict her maneuverability, while a trolling vessel is a vessel that is engaged in trolling with other fishing apparatus that does not restrict her maneuverability. But the person that answered the question can please, that's the difference. But at night, how do you know a vessel engaged in fishing or a vessel engaged in trolling? Since you are smart enough to give us the good definition that has been displayed, under the lights and shapes, there's a significant difference between the two. One carries a different color and the other one has a different color.
Yeah, for the For the fishing vessel, the light is red and white. For the trolling vessel, the light is green and white.
Okay, so what happens if you see a flashing yellow light?
A flashing yellow light, that
Yeah.
is not assessment. Forgotten. A flashing yellow light. I've forgotten.
What happens if fishing vessels are fishing in close proximity? What do you call it?
I've forgotten the name, but I know the flashing yellow light has to do with fishing, but I've forgotten the name given to it.
Okay, so we'll get there soon. So seaplanes are aircraft that are designed to maneuver in water. You always find this one from the naval fleet and the rest of them. So there are any aircraft that is designed to maneuver in water. So very, very important term is the vessel not under command. So a vessel not under command simply means a vessel which through some exceptional circumstances is unable to maneuver as required by this rule and is therefore unable to keep out of way of another vessel. So due to some exceptional circumstances, what are those exceptional circumstances that makes a vessel not able to maneuver? One of them is when a vessel have loss of engine. When you have loss of engine, you are unable to maneuver as required by this rule. Therefore, you can't be able to keep out of way of another vessel. The next thing is when you have a loss of steering gear, or what we call a loss of steering motor. You are unable to maneuver as required by this rule. Therefore, you are unable to keep out of way. Another type of vessel that is classified under not under command is when you lose your rudder. When you lose your rudder, you can't be able to do anything, so you are not under command. So it's very, very important in the case of oral examination, they can ask you, okay, what is vessel not under command? You know, can you give me some examples of vessels not under command? So you should be able to answer this. Then I can throw the question now out again and Captain Afolabi will select whoever will answer it. What sort of light does this kind of vessel display? And when you see a vessel not under command, what are you supposed to do? We are not going deep into the rules. Just now, you are in a small coastal, went from Lagos possibly to Takoradi, Ghana, and you find a vessel not under command. You are able to see her in daytime, or in nighttime using the light, daytime using the ship. So what are you required to do? You are a power-driven vessel on the way. Mind you, from the definition, she's unable to maneuver.
Yeah.
Kevin.
Yeah, good evening, Kelvin. Let's hear your answer.
Yeah, vessel not under command carry the red over red lights during the day. At night, I mean, with a navigational light. Can you hear me, please?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, a red over red light. Then during the day, it uses to be
a red over what light?
Red.
Oh,
Two red. Yeah. Two red lights, and during the day, it uses two black balls.
And restricted your ability to maneuver?
Restricted red, white, red. During the day. During the night, I mean, then a day, red, ball, diamond, ball.
I think it would be good for you to explain or just state that in a vertical line. Red, what is red? Red,
okay, that's red,
red
in the vertical line on the masthead light.
And I'm not sure it's two black balls that is actually written in the rules.
It's showing, it says two all-round red light in the vertical line.
Yeah, in the vertical line, yes.
Where it can best be seen. So you have to code the rules very well.
And I don't think it's two black balls also, because when you say two black balls, so, people can be very different things.
Exactly.
Kevin, do you want to try again? What's the shape? Day signal?
Yes, sir. You said for a vessel not under command, it exhibits two black balls at where it can best be seen.
In the vertical or in the horizontal line?
In the vertical line.
All right, you can check it again after the class anyway. Double check. Captain Caleb, sorry, over to you, sir.
Okay, all right. So now the next we move to the term vessel restricted and ability to maneuver. So vessel restricted and ability to maneuver, there's a huge difference between vessel restricted and ability to maneuver and then vessel not under command. Vessel not under command is due to some circumstances like loss of engine, loss of steering, and loss, of rudder. But vessel restricted and ability to maneuver, the main idea here is due to the nature of our operations, due to the nature of her work. She's restricted her ability to maneuver as required by the rule, and therefore she is unable to keep out of way of another vessel, And what class of vessels are classified as this? We have one is vessel engaged in laying, servicing, or picking up navigational marks, submarine cables, or pipelines. This type of vessel, the engine is readily available. They are on the way or making way. The rudder is working fine. The steering gear is okay, but just due to the nature of her work, for instance, she's engaged in laying or servicing of submarine cables, that restrict her ability to maneuver. If you go to a channel and there's a dredging vessel is dredging, so due to the nature of the dredging operations, she is restricted in her ability to maneuver, So we also look at vessel engaged in replenish or transferring of person, provision of cargo while on the way. What we mean here is if you go to Nigerian water, you will find what we call ship-to-ship transfer is a common phenomenon nowadays. So if you find two ships to ship, there's a transfer operation going on, or a kind of pilot boat is transferring pilot or some crew for crew change. That particular vessel is restricted in ability to maneuver due to the nature of our operations. Some other vessels engage in a mine clearance operation, launching and recovering of aircraft. They are also restricted in their ability to maneuver. Very, very important. If a vessel is engaged in towing, if a vessel is engaged in towing, she's restricted in her ability to deviate from the course she's following, So as we move on, you will find out that there's a difference between restricted her ability to maneuver and constrained by her draft. If you have a deep laden VLCC in Bonny Channel, she's not restricted her ability to maneuver because she's not carrying out any job. She's not engaged in any job that affects her operation. The only challenge she's having there is because she's constrained by her draft because of the size of the vessel in relation to the available width and depth of navigational waters. That's what makes her to be restricted, to be constrained by her draft. So if you see a vessel restricted in her ability to maneuver, as per a responsibility, a power-driven vessel on the way should keep out of way of a vessel restricted in her ability to maneuver. She shall keep out of the way of vessel not under command. But the rule says she shall, so far as practicable as possible, avoid impeding the safe passage of a vessel constrained by her draft, exhibiting the light and shape signals in Rule 28. So there's a bit of difference, because if you see a VLCC on your starboard side coming, what will you do? If you have a VLCC in your starboard side, 4 points to starboard, range decreasing, bearing is steady. You take series of compass bearing to ascertain the risk of collision exist, and then risk of collision exists. What will you do at this point? At the point where risk of collision exists, the VLCC should comply with rules of the road, or you should comply with rules of the road to keep out of way. But the moment you begin to see, the vessel constrained by her draft, and then, you have to take early action to avoid impeding her safe passage based on responsibility, but not based on action taken to avoid collision. So we'll get to that stage, and you will tend to understand. Oh, Sobajo is raising his hand.
Yes, boss. So this question, at this point, last time we treated it, I think there is a part that you mentioned there that talked about safe passage.
Yeah.
And I would like the class, anybody in the class, to please, if they understand it, what the difference between, the safe passage, like Captain Caleb mentioned now, and passage.
I would like to try.
Yeah, please go ahead.
The difference between safe passage and passage. For safe passage, it has to be you can pass as long as it does not put the vessel in harm's way. But for passage, passage doesn't necessarily have how will I put it? For the safe passage.
So let me read again. Avoid
the vessel which has to why am I still good?
Don't worry, it's English language. It's not our first language. You can say it in Yoruba, no problem. I'll help you.
Good evening, good evening, Cap.
Good
evening, Cap.
Yes, good evening. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think from my own understanding, I think the word passage, it means maybe I think it means what a vessel is following at the given time. That is the passage, the movement of the vessel at that time.
It's not
And
passage plan, no.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. But I think safe passage, it's based on the margin of safety between the both ship.
Okay. All right. So let me, Captain Caleb, please, I seek your indulgence. Let me just explain this in a way that I was taught or explained to a couple of years ago. So if you are on the road, your traffic lights and it's red, so you stop, right? Now this traffic light is green. It's your passage. You have the right of way. Then you hear the ambulance coming from the side that is red. What will you do normally? Ambulance with an emergency, just doing all the siren. Don't give me Lagos answer. I want you to give me proper answer, So what will you do in that situation? Timmy, what will you do?
Yeah, I think I will have to give way. I will have to be the giveaway motor for the ambulance to pass.
Yeah, so you are not giving way, because if you don't want, you're not changing. It's not as if the ambulance should not stop. And if you see them in countries like maybe in England, if you stop for them, they will actually say thank you for stopping and move it. So they don't have the right of way, but they require you not to impede their safe passage. You understand what I'm trying to say now? So there are these kind of vessels that constrained by a draft, for example, there's nothing I can do. I know I'm the giveaway vessel, but will you mind not to impede my safe passage? You understand? So it's even between passage, impeding the passage or impeding the safe passage. There are some vessels that, yes, the rule has not said you should keep clear or whatever of them, but there's really nothing they can do. They need to move. So that's how I remember. I remember with that ambulance ideology. Yes, I'm green. It is my right of way. Captain Caleb gave an example. I see a constrained vessel on my starboard side, or my port side. I can see on my port side aspect. She can see me on a starboard side, and all that. Normally am I the giveaway or the stand-on? If I find that I'm the giveaway, but is there anything she can really do? Probably not. Yeah, she could slow down, she could do all that, but we understand what they call what's it called now? The stopping distance between all the vessels and the characteristics of the vessel involved. So rule 2 will play again at that point, like we discussed. So it's good for you to understand when you talk about passage and safe passage. Safe passage, really, yes, you are right to move, but please don't impede my safe passage. Remember the ambulance. That's how I remember it anyway. So I just said I should share that. Captain Caleb, over to you, sir.
Okay. So in addition to what Captain Soba just said, assuming now you are on watch, and then in the afternoon, and you see a vessel with a cylinder, on the port side, that should be a vessel constrained by a draft. So what are your actions on port sides? You are on approximately, let's say, 14 miles. What action will you take as OOW? At this point, she's on your port side, you're on the starboard side. You are the stand-on vessel, she's the giveaway vessel. But because of her characteristics, you have noticed that the vessel is constrained by her draft, it's CBD. 2 points to starboard, or let's say 3 points to starboard, action.
Anyone in the hours want to try?
Okay, let's quickly go through it. If you check rule 8, rule 8 says actions to avoid collision. Very important. So if you go to the F part of rule 8, it's divided into 3. The first part is talking about any vessel that is required not to impede the safe passage of another vessel, shall so far as possible take early action. So if you're answering to the examiner, you say, okay, although I am the stand-on vessel, she is the giveaway vessel. However, upon sighting her light, I notice she's constrained by her draft. And rule 17 under responsibility says, any vessel shall so far as possible avoid impeding the safe passage. Any vessel other than vessel not under command or vessel restricted in ability to maneuver shall so far as possible avoid impeding the safe passage of vessel constrained by a draft exhibiting the light and shape light signal rule 28. So in this point, I'm under responsibility. I'm required not to impede her safe passage. So what I'll do, I'll go to rule 8F1, which says any vessel that is required not to impede the passage or safe passage of another vessel shall take early action, to give sufficient sea room, for the safe passage of the other vessel. In this particular case, risk of collision has not existed yet. So what I'll do is I'll make a bold alteration of course to port, because you can go to port because there's no risk of collision, to keep well clear of her. Or alternatively, you can slow down your speed to allow her to pass ahead of you. However, in the second situation is when the risk of collision exists. In the first scenario, the risk of collision does not exist. But if risk of collision exists, now what you do is you are going to respond as per rule 8F2, which it says a vessel required not to impede the passage of safe passage on a vessel is no relief of her obligation, if approaching the other vessel, so as to involve the risk of collision. And if she's taking action, she shall have due regards to the rule of this part. What due regard? You look at it, action by, you have to take action about action by stand-on vessel. That means if she's not giving you, if she's not taking sufficient action, because it does not relieve of our obligation to keep clear of you. As Captain Soba just said, you look at the issue of the ambulance. So, you first give her 5 rapid shot blast, she's not doing anything, you do take action as per action of giveaway vessel. You make a bold alteration of course to starboard, do not go to port, or then you reduce your speed to allow her to pass well ahead of you. But the third part of the rule also make it that the vessel, the passage of which is not to be impeded, remain fully obliged to comply with the rules of this part. Fully comply. That means she's, the giveaway vessel and you are the stand-on vessel. So she's fully obliged to comply with this rule. So you have to be careful if you are answering this question. You have to code rule 8F1, 2, and 3. And you also have to code rule 17, to support, I won't say argument because it's not a PhD, to support your answer, in this case. So you have to be careful. And it's a common question that do comes out in oral. Vessel constrained by a drive in a port site, First, when risk of collision does not exist, you take action as by 8F1. When it exists at FF3, she's not relieved from her obligation. All these 8F have to do with responsibility, because under the rules, responsibility between vessels, they just say so far as possible, avoid impeding. It doesn't say keep out of way like the other ones, which is a power-driven vessel under which shall keep out of way of vessel not under command, vessel restricted ability to maneuver, vessel engaged in fishing, and the sailing vessel. But it never mentioned vessel, constrained by her draft. So very, very important, for you to know this. So let's move to the other one. We have discussed about the vessel constrained by her draft now, and vessel constrained by her draft is a power-driven vessel. So if you see a sailing vessel, exhibiting the signal of vessel constrained by her draft, is a question now. Are you required to avoid impeding her passage or safe passage? Suddenly you see a fishing vessel with CBD signal. What are you supposed to? No, let's say you see a sailing vessel, a vessel not being propelled by machinery. The answer is the moment you see her exhibiting that signal, you should know that she is constrained by her draft. There might be a lot of things there. First, you move away from the rules. The shape might have been put in wrongly, but you should not answer that to the examiner. The moment you see her exhibiting that signal, simply means she's being propelled by machinery and then she's constrained by her draft. And you should act accordingly, because how do you know a vessel constrained by her draft? Is by the daylight and the night, day shapes and the night lights, So if she's exhibiting the light at night or she's exhibiting the shape at day, irrespective of her size, you don't know the draft, she might be constrained by her draft, and you have to comply with the rules, of responsibility between vessels. So any other question before we move on? Okay, there's also, the next one is the vessel on the way, very, very important for you to know, because if we go in depth, you find out, okay, they'll say a power-driven vessel. A power-driven vessel is different from a power-driven vessel on the way. They'll ask you, what is a power-driven vessel on the way? Power-driven vessel on the means that the vessel is not at anchor, the vessel is not made fast to shore, or the vessel is not at aground. So meaning that if a vessel is on the way, if she is less than 50 meters in length, she will have her wide light, masthead light forward, she will have side lights and stern lights. If she's more than 50 meters in length, she will have masthead light forward, the second masthead light aft, higher than the forward one, and she will have the stern line and the side light, meaning that she is actually on the way, And then now, if she is at anchor, then she is not on the way. That is a major reason why all anchored vessels don't display what we call side lights. Rather, they display anchor lights. They don't display side light because they are not on the way. When you are all fast, the first thing you do is you turn off your navigational lights, meaning that you are not on the way, you are fast. When you are aground, you turn off the light that you are aground, a vessel aground. You know, there are special lights for it to warn other vessels of the danger ahead. So it's very, very important to know a power-driven vessel on the way. Very important. So the next one have to do with the length and breadth of the vessel, which means her length overall and the greatest breadth. You know, so the K part now is has to do with sight. You know, they said vessels shall be deemed to be in sight of one another only when they can be observed visually. This particular K aspect of Rule 3 is very, very important. If you're in an oral examination, the oral examiner will say, okay, 4 points to your starboard side, to your port side, you know, you have a power-driven vessel, you know, and you are inside of each other. But the moment you don't see her, the rules of part 1, the steering and sailing rules do not apply. That is conduct of vessel inside of one another does not apply. What apply is conduct of vessel in restricted visibility. The moment you don't see her, she's restricted visibility, but the moment you see her. So that's why this rule is very important. When you can visually sight each other, then the rules of conduct of vessel inside of one another applies. But the moment you don't see her, you know, even though you can hear the sound and you don't see her, that means conduct of vessel in restricted visibility applies. So it's very, very important for you to know, you know, when is a vessel restricted, when is a vessel in restricted visibility? You know, a vessel is in restricted visibility when you cannot visually sight her, you know, and that takes us to I, which talks about what is restricted visibility. So restricted visibility is any condition in which visibility is restricted by fog, mist, falling snow, heavy rainstorm, or sandstorm. So if there is fog, there is mist, there is rainfall, there is sandstorm, and you can't see the vessel, you know, then you are navigating in restricted visibility and you have to comply with restricted visibility. Conduct of vessel in restricted visibility is very, very important. But there's a question they always ask, you know, you have a bank on your port side, you know, you can't see anything. On your starboard, on your starboard side, you can't see anything. On your port side, you can sight a vessel. So what will you do in that situation? The floor is open. It's a complicated question. And this question have multiple answers. It depends on how you're going to defend it. On your port side, you have a power-driven vessel on the way. You know, range is decreasing. You know, bearing is steady bearing, closing up. And on your starboard side, you know, you can't see anything. There's a fog bank. You know, rain is coming on your port side. And the vessel on your starboard side, I mean, the vessel on your port side is supposed to be the giveaway vessel, and you are the stand-on vessel. She's not giving you way. What will you do? You have restricted visibility on one side, and on the other side, you can be able to see the vessel. So what will you do?
Let me also make it a little bit more interesting. What sound signals will you use?
Will you, exactly. Because in steering and sailing, when you are altering course, you have to make use of a sound signal, you know.
Yeah, will you use, and also when you are in or near an area of observed visibility, you should start doing fog signal.
There's sounds fog you sound. So
I think JJ wants to answer.
All right. In a restricted visibility, taking us to Rule 35.
No, wait, listen to the question. No. On one side, you have reserved visibility. On the other side is clear visibility.
And there is vessel on the clear visibility.
Well, on both sides. There are vessels on both sides for you.
On both sides.
Big wahala. Well.
So what fog signal? Are you going to give a fog signal or not?
Sure. Fog signal is must be given the residual visibility, even if you are when you are on that way. At
But
least
you are not in restricted visibility. You yourself are not in restricted visibility.
okay. Well, since I'm not sure and I don't know the intention of the vessels, I will give a 5 short rapid blast.
To which
for-
one?
I'm sounding my shots, and they
Which
should be able
shot?
which
You are shouting shot or you are shooting
five,
shot?
five,
Uh,
five,
uh,
five, five.
I think if I can assist JJ, because Rule 19 says if you are in or near restricted visibility, it's classified as being in restricted visibility, and you have to act accordingly, as if you are in the restricted visibility.
Or you have one vessel on the port side which is cleared, completely
That's what
cleared.
I'm saying. Rule 19 states that if you are in or near, so even if you are near, you yourself, you are not in the restricted, but you are near the restricted visibility, you still have to act accordingly. So I'm going to give
If you
Fox
look at
signal.
the definitions, K says vessels shall be deemed to be inside of one another only when they can be observed visually from the other. So you can see the other one visually.
But Rule
EA,
19, Rule
EA,
19
what do
also,
you understand by near? How many nautical miles is the near?
this also has to, the near has to do with the length of the vessel as well, and its maneuvering characteristics. So a near can be different. It can be different from for different kind of vessel. It can be different for a tanker compared to that of an offshore vessel.
Very good, well understood. So are you seeing any vessel by sight?
I'm seeing one vessel by sight on my port side.
Which rule are you going to use for the vessel on your port side? The one you are seeing by sight.
The one I'm seeing by sight.
Yeah.
I'm going to use
which part of your rule?
Rule 15, which is crossing situation.
No. Which part
No,
of the rule?
Conduct of vessel in what?
That will be rule B, which is steering and sailing rules.
No, wait, just slow down. There are two conduct of vessels there are two conducts that is expected from you. One in what?
One is in restricted visibility.
No, Captain Caleb, please just calm down for us a little. Let's see.
Okay.
Please. So
Section 1,
let's
conduct
read
of
that
vessel in
section
any
1.
condition.
Okay, that's the section.
Yeah, sorry, section. So what's section 1?
That's the conduct of vessel in any condition of visibility.
Okay, thank you. Just pause there. Captain Caleb, please calm down again.
You start from section 2.
So what's section 2?
Conduct of vessel in sight of one another.
Very good. Now what's section 3?
Section 3 is for restricted visibility.
No, what does it say? Conduct of vessel in what?
Conduct of vessel in restricted visibility.
So now, thank you. Now we have three sections. 1, any visibility. 2, in sight of one another. 3, restricted visibility. Now 2 and 3, you can use one for both scenarios. 2 and 3, which one are you going to use for the vessel on your port side?
Like you said, I can use one for the entire scenario. And the one on my port side, I'm going to use 2, which is in sight of one another.
And the one on your starboard?
On my starboard, that will be restricted visibility. That will be 3.
So now let's start again, because you are beginning to confuse the examiner, but it's not good now. Confuse us more now that you have now that you are more enlightened. But you understand what I'm trying to say, bro?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Now over to you, Captain Caleb.
Okay, I was asked this similar question in my orals. And to be honest, it took me time. I got confused initially. So when he asked me the question, I didn't want to ask him about the miles, so he just told me on the port side, his range is decreasing, steady bearing, risks of collision exist. You know, I told him for the port side, I'll give her 5 rapid shot blasts and I'll call the master. He said the master has not turned up in the bridge. What am I gonna do? I say, okay, she's the giveaway vessel, I'm the stand-on vessel, you know. But if she doesn't do anything, I will still give her 5 rapid shot blasts. He says she doesn't do. I say, okay, what I will do in this situation is I will slow down my speed and allow her to pass ahead of me. He said, perfect. Then the next one, what will happen? Now she has passed ahead of you. You are approaching the bank. The bank is now 4 miles away. And I'll say, okay, now conduct of vessel in restricted visibility will be applied in this situation, because when I'm getting closer, I'm navigating in or near an area of restricted visibility. And he asked me, what will I do? I'll say I will call the master, double my watchkeeper. You know, I'll inform the engine room to put engines on standby. You know, put second steering motors on, engage hand steering, start radar plotting, you know, manual plotting immediately. So he now asked me that if I am in the process of plotting, I now heard the fog signal. I say, I'm already sounding my fox. I say, no, I heard a fog signal forward of my beam. I say, what I'll do now is I will take all way off and navigate with extreme caution until the danger of collision is over. It's okay, it's fine. So in this situation, you don't need to start asking the examiner what is the distance. That is where you are digging the hole for yourself. He can decide to tell you the fog bank is 2 miles. So if you are faced with multiple situations like this, you deal with them as per priority, which one poses the greatest risks first. So when you do that, then you move from the other one. It's just like if you have so many vessels, if you are doing your narrows, how do you manage? And you start with, you know, you start to give with the one with the closest CPA first. But in this situation, you are navigating in or near an area of restricted visibility on one side, and on the other side is clearer. But in and near an area of restricted visibility, at what miles are you? You might be able to see a fog bank on your starboard side that might be 12 miles away. The radar might pick the rain, you know, and in that case, are you in or near an area of restricted visibility? I think the answer is absolutely no. Yes, Tayo.
Yes, boss. So I just want to mention that it's about listening to the question very well. I've been asked the same question. A lot of people are asked the same question. But when you listen, you pick the priority. So don't just jump into it. Don't confuse yourself. Pick the priority from the question. The examiner, most examiners don't want to fail you, right? They just ask you the question, except you now decide to fail yourself. So listen to the question, and you'll be able to pick which one does he want you to work with first. Most times, all right? They are not intentionally there to, and even when you are on real scenario as well, you know, you treat them one after the other, as long as the action you take for one does not result in another close quarter situation, you know?
Exactly.
So please let us listen very well to the question. Of course, the example we gave here is not oral question per se, but it is something that we should pick. Listen, don't think they want to trick you. If you listen to the question, you see that probably there's no trick in it. Thanks.
And then you, okay, thank you very much for that, that answer, Captain Tayo. So we are going to move on now to part B, but we are going to just discuss rule 5 because we don't have time. So rule 4 is just application, and then part B, like we mentioned, is divided into 3 sections. Section 1 is conduct of vessel in any condition of visibility. That means even if you are inside of one another or you are in restricted visibility, you must comply with rules of Section 1, Part B, which have to do with lookout, safe speeds, traffic separation schemes, narrow channels, head-on situation, overtaking. They are all head-on. They are all inside of one another. I mean, so you have to comply with all those ones. You have to comply with Rule 6, which is safe speed. You are going to comply with Rule 7, risk of collision. Rule 8, action taken to avoid collision. You have to comply with Rule 9, narrow channel. Rule 10, traffic separation scheme, which is very, very important. Those are the conduct of vessels in any condition of visibility. So in any condition of visibility, even if you are in traffic separation scheme, you have to comply with the rules of Part B, Section 1, even if you are in restricted visibility. So the most important, the first one is lookout. If they ask in oral examination, what is the primary purpose of officer of the watch? The first one is lookout. That is your main duty. The main duty of officer of the watch is lookout. Before you even do any form of navigation, is lookout. Everything is lookout. Lookout is very, very important. And what is lookout? Sometimes they may ask you. So you might simply code Rule 5 that every vessel shall at all times maintain a proper lookout by sight and hearing, as well as all available means appropriate in the prevailing circumstances and conditions, so as to make the full appraisal of the situation and of the risk of collision. This rule might seem simple, but it's very complicated. So they will ask by sight and hearing. By sight, what do you use? By sight, I'll throw this question open. You are making a proper lookout by sight and hearing. Sight meaning you are using your visuals, using your binoculars, scanning all through, hearing, listening to any of the sound signals. Sight, looking at the lights and shapes, all available means appropriate, meaning that you are going to use binoculars, you are using radar plots, you are using everything appropriate for you, in the prevailing, so as to make a full appraisal of situation and risk of collision. So you use radar, you use EGDs, you use binoculars, to make a full appraisal of the situation and of the risk of collision. Sight, you look very well. Hearing, is very, very important. That is lookout, So sometimes they may ask you, how do you maintain a proper lookout by sight? Or how do you maintain a proper lookout by hearing? And what do we mean by all available means? So you should be able to explain as officer of the watch, you are maintaining a proper lookout. Even in the radio GMDSS, you are maintaining a lookout. By hearing, you can be hearing a lot of information going on. You check all available means such as radars. You can also use AIS, everything, all available means. Then you have to be careful in listening. If they will not ask you, can you use AIS for collision avoidance? You can say that the answer is no, but you are going to use it as a tool. It's an all available tool that will aid you, to be able to appraise the situation and of the risk of collision. So it's very, very important for you to thoroughly understand rule number 5. If you are in restricted visibility, you maintain a proper lookout by hearing. Okay, if you hear the sound signal, you should be able to know what sound signal is for what. By hearing, you maintain a proper lookout also by sight. You keep looking. When you don't see something, that means you are in restricted visibility. And you use all available means. That means you are relying on radar plotting. You plot, the target, you make a full assessment of the situation, find out that if risk of collision exists or not, what action are you going to take? So all the basic foundation of action taken to avoid collision is in Rule 5, because you are maintaining a proper lookout, you are appraising this situation to find out if risks of collision exist. without Rule 5, without you making a proper lookout, appraising the situation, there is no way you'll be able to know that risks of collision exist. So it's very, very, very important and very crucial for you to understand rule number 5. And when, like I say, when they mean all available means, it means everything at your disposal. Because when you are involved in a collision, responsibility will too comes into play. Good practice of seamanship is very, very important. Okay, you might say, okay, you don't use EGDIS for collision avoidance, but they will now say, okay, as good practice of seamanship, you are supposed to use all available means, everything available to you, radar, EGDIS, AIS, everything that you feel, station one mount in the bow for, lookout and hearing and reporting to you, all those stuffs. Those, I believe those are the traditional navigation, but still, you can still answer your examiner that, okay, you have one man stationed forward with radio, that he's not going to be engaged in any duty. His major duty is just to look out by sight and hearing. And if he hears any sound because you are in the breach wing, he immediately inform you. So it's very, very, very important. So is there any other question regarding lookout? Do you have any question to ask? How is JJ is raising his hand?
Sorry, if I may ask this question.
Yeah.
There is this question that says that this argument of Rule 5 is it the best rule or the most important rule in the rules of the road? Fine, I must agree with you even from the way you are explaining. But my question is, who says is the most important rule? Is it written in the part of the rules of the road that says?
There's nobody that says it's the most important rule, right? But okay, let's go by priority. When you are writing, when you want to possibly go to Tesco to buy things, you prioritize your tasks. Like me, if I wake up every day, I have a live diary. I write what I want to do that day in order of priority. And when you look at the way the rules of the road is structured, what I say is the most important. I don't mean is fact-based. It's not written anywhere in the rule that this is the most important. Before I say so, I say, okay, if you go to bridge procedure guide, watchkeeping procedures, safe navigation, the primary responsibility of officer of the watch is lookout. That's your primary responsibility. If it is not lookout, then you should be at the bridge just playing with computer. You are not checking anything. So that's to show you how important this particular rule is. And when it comes to rule of part B, conduct of vessel, in any condition of visibility, but rule number 5 is the first one that came up. So before you even move to safe speed, you must be keeping a proper lookout. Before you be able to assess that risks of collision exist, you must be keeping a proper lookout. Without proper lookout, you will know that there's a vessel on 4 points on your port side or 4 point on your starboard side. How do you know that the bearing is reducing, range is reducing and bearing is steady? It's by taking series of compass bearing. Taking series of compass bearing is you are using all available means. Then, before then you start with binoculars, visual, taking series of compass bearing. That is conduct of vessel inside of one another. Conduct of vessel restricted visibility. How do you know that in navigation a danger exists if you cannot see her on radar? It's through the fog signal. And the moment you hear the fog signal, what do? You reduce your speed or take all way off and navigate with extreme caution until the danger is over. So you can see the foundation of you assessing risks of collision before taking action to avoid collision is basically lookout. Because if you don't, it's just like you are driving now and then you are sleeping. Wow.
So that's what I'm saying.
You have an accident, you won't be able to appraise the whole situation. It's not a personal opinion, but it's a good practice of seamanship.
JJ, what do you think? What do you think? Do you think Rule 5 is important? or not?
No, for me, all the rules are very important.
No, I'm asking you about rule 5. Close your eyes. When you close your eyes, talk. What can you do with speed?
Yeah, don't let me know like this. Last I can see. But the thing is that when we talk about the importance of the rule,
Oh God, what can you do with speed when you
Can I ask
close your
even you?
eyes?
It's a simple question I can ask you. How do you know that risks of collision exist? How do you know that risks of collision exist?
Don't worry, JJ, go and study law. Go and study law. Don't waste our time. Don't mind JJ. You go and study law. You go and do PhD in rules of the road.
So they mark this question then and just ask that if there is a this is that really
No, it's not. It's not. But it's just common sense. If you go back to
you're right,
practice of seaman,
well,
you go
who am I to argue with my master?
No, it's not that. But
I'll
if
take
you
just want to learn.
I'll take you back to rule number 2, right? I'll take you back to rule number 2, responsibility. You know, if you look at responsibility here, is nothing in this rule shall exonerate any vessel or owner, master or crew dear from any consequence of any neglect to comply with these rules or any neglect of any precaution which may be required by ordinary practice of seaman or by special circumstance of the case. So, for instance, now you are supposed you have a collision, and then the root cause of that collision is you did not keep a proper lookout. What is it? You did not comply with good practice of seaman. If you comply with good practice,
I have a practical example that happened in Bonny Channel, whereby LNG vessel hit a PSV, and I think there were about 4 or 5 officers on the bridge. You know, they were probably because they were going to lose network. You know, everybody was sending text messages or something. You know, I'm not there. I don't know, but that's the rumors. And they were not keeping lookouts. They were not moving at one serious speed or whatever, you know. But they didn't see it until they collided, you know. So I don't know what you could do if you don't have good lookouts anyway. I really cannot think about it. Except when JJ does his PhD in rules of the road and he can prove us wrong.
I just want to chip this in to know how important this is. While I was a cadet years ago, all of a sudden from my cabin, I was just hearing a big bang, boom, and then the vessel vibrates. And that was the first time I noticed, I witnessed a real accident. And what happened? I did not even imagine that would be an accident because we were on anchor. The vessel has not moved for I don't know how long, for months as well. So there's no movement, there's nothing. We are saying they avoid doing any collision regulation. And it was middle of the night, 2 a.m. Only for us to get to the bridge, and right there was another tanker alongside us. This was not a planned operation. This one was, I don't know what to call it, but it was a very funny scenario. So what happened was, the other vessel also did not even imagine that itself is moving. So there's no need for any lookout as well. These are vessels that are not moving. And that's how it dragged anchor, and the thing kept coming astern till we had collision. So now, we start engine. There's no one that start engine. We don't have fuel. They don't have fuel. There's no engine. There's no other.
There's mooring lines now.
So both of us right now, the only thing we just have to do now, how can we now alongside each other, safe and sound without engine? But that's another story for another day. But you could see, but before the vessel drag, you can imagine, the first thing where everybody was saying was, where's the lookout? And
exactly.
The captain was, the bosun was like, sir, you didn't ask us to be on lookout. In short, like I said, that was another story for another day. The whole thing scattered in a way that there was now no watch because everybody was thinking that this is not moving. So what are we doing? It's safe and sound, yeah. So that's the emphasis why I say, even though your vessel is not moving, this is different from a car parked in the garage. Forget about lookout. But for a vessel, no matter where you keep it, anchor, at the pier, alongside, offshore, anywhere, lookout is the number one priority of your vessel. Yeah, Captain Caleb, over to you, sir.
Okay, so is there any other question?
Yes, sir. There's one more question. Just a quick one, sir. I was on board and we are sailing through the channels, and the captain asked the AB he asked the AB to go for lookouts, then posted him outside of the vessel at the bridge wings. So after we crossed through the channel, the AB came to me and started complaining that does it necessarily have to be outside of the bridge for him to keep the lookout, or he has to keep it inside of the bridge? So I just want to confirm. I know there is when keeping lookouts, you have to be on the bridge wings and like all of that. But does it necessarily have to be outside of the bridge wings, or the lookout can be inside of the bridge? I just want to confirm.
Let me help. I have a very simple answer. Captain Caleb, if you help us scroll back to rule 5, scroll down to rule 5. The answer is very simple to that question. So yes, so okay. Every vessel shall shall at all time maintain proper lookout by sight, and the answer is the next thing. And what? EA. What's that thing called? Sight and where are you now? EA. You asked question now. I'm answering it. Sight and hearing. Okay. So on the bridge wing, I don't know how many of you have apparatus to hear things outside in your bridge. Some vessels do. You have a mic, you can switch it on, and you can hear what's going on outside. So somebody can be shouting, "Help, man overboard," you know. So it's sight and hearing. So for the sake of hearing, yes, I am part of the people that would put a lookout on the bridge wing, because I need him to hear. Whatever he hears, he can let us know inside. So it is not wrong, and it's the master's decision to keep a lookout on the bridge wing or not. So it's still part of the rules, because if you have a collision because you did not hear, or if you have an accident because you did not hear, or you did not rescue someone overboard because you did not hear, can imagine what would happen, the consequence of that. So it is not wrong. I've still the master that keep lookout outside. Sorry, outside. But some captains feel, okay, you just be inside and keep lookout and all that. But being outside is not it's not against the rules, it's not against the law, because it's by sight and hearing. And if you're not happy with the hearing, you can choose the all available means. Available. So, so it is. I don't know if anybody has another contribution to that, but
yeah,
maybe because I'm not the one outside. Yeah, please go ahead, Captain Apple.
Yeah, I just wanna add that there's in the company I'm working with now, there's one of our vessels, an MCA has used the clause of all available means to the extent now, before the vessel sail, there must be someone on the Monkey Island. It's a very long story, but now there's lookouts on the Monkey Island, and we have to, construct a shed. So this is different from lookout on the bridge. This is different from lookout from the bridge wing. So my brother, if you are sent down to the Monkey Island, that's your job. But before that vessel sail, there must be lookout. So it's everywhere. Also, the master can send you to the bow. If it's an LNG vessels, I know I want to hear the hearing, please go to the bow. I've kept watch at the bow before on tankers as well, and they can send you to the stern as well. They can even send it downstairs. So it's everywhere. It's the major aspect of it. There should be no blind spots. Everywhere should be fully covered by a lookout.
Yeah, a practical example. I don't know if Captain Caleb will remember when there was a man overboard on one of the LNG vessels. some years back. That should be 2006.
Yeah, 2006. Yeah.
Yes, there was a man overboard, and
LNG,
my
yeah.
vessel, I was on the LNG Lokoja then. We were part of the search and rescue. If I remember very well, the lookout for that, the chief officer was on the forward mast, the very top. Yeah, that was where the chief officer was keeping lookout. You know, so if the chief officer is keeping lookout at the forward top, you can imagine what every other person is doing. And guess what? The chief officer saw quite a lot of things from that place. He was able to, but although we didn't see the man overboard, but we saw a lot of things. So keeping lookout, being outside. I've said with Captain that if it's raining, he will tell you to go and get raincoat. That's it. Not coming in is not the solution to rain. Get raincoat because I need to hear. So, you know, maybe some people do the extreme, but it's not a problem at all. Master Marina, please go ahead with your hand. We'll soon round up anyway. Please go ahead, sir.
Good evening, my officers. Please, Captain Busayo, you said they keep lookouts on the Monkey Island. Isn't that dangerous and hazardous to the person keeping watch there because of the radar?
Depends.
It's a question, sir.
It's not hazardous. It's not hazardous.
It depends on the design of the vessel, actually.
Yeah, so the vessel, I said, all that was the first risk assessment, of course, made. So it's the way the radar is designed. There is another unobstructed view that the radar can have. I mean, summary of it all, the radar is far away from, you know, where from the Monkey Island where the watchman has to comply. But like I said, this is just one of, you know, many situations, but it was, you know, from the MCA. So it might not be from the MCA, it might be from the captain to say, no, please, I need someone up there to really see a view. That was why I brought that scenario.
Prince, please go ahead.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, my captains, I agree to you. Just want to ask, based on what my captain just said, that even if it's raining, one can put on his raincoat and do the job. Fine and good. But like the last person that spoke, he said something that is this safe? But I think in this field, I think the number one thing to also consider is safety. Now, talking about somebody fell overboard or something, if the weather is raw with poor visibility and one is outside at a brief wind, keeping that lookout, don't you think something will happen to it to become a double problem? Then if somebody climbs something like that mast or is raining and the person is outside, keeping that watch as well. When we have something that can aid us, fine, the visibility is poor. To me, that is we're not considering safety in this aspect. I don't know if I'm right.
Prince, you see, we can all act horror movie. You know, it's very, if this happen, if this happen, if that happen, if that happen, all right? So the first thing you need to do for every task you want to do is you have to risk assess it. And even the risk assessment is not before the task. While you are doing your task, you still continue your risk assessment. It's called mental risk assessment because situation is changing. So like, for example, you were outside with your coverall, then it started raining. You did a risk assessment and you see, oh, let me put on a raincoat. You see, you've done something towards it. You thought about the safety. So again, I'm not saying that, yes, we should expose people to danger, to harm. Toolbox stock risk assessment is there to be a stop walk and all that. Now, vessels have crew protection, and depending on the design of the vessel, as big as those LNG vessels are, when it's bad weather, I've been through storm, and one of them is the last one I remember is on the Lola in Indian Ocean. Even as big as they are, no crew will be on deck. Okay, they won't walk on deck, not PSV or whatever. I'm talking about those LNG because the storm, the water is coming on their deck. All right, and so safety is always very, very important. Now, for watch keeping, if you want to give me the card that it's not safe because it's raining and there's thunder and there's lightning and all that, okay, when there's not, then what? So yes, I'm not saying people shouldn't, we should not take safety. Safety is first. Do your risk assessment. If it's safe to do so, yes. But based on the question, is it appropriate to keep a lookout outside the bridge wing? Yes, it is appropriate based on Rule 5 by hearing, sight hearing, all available means to keep a proper lookout to know. Because if you collide, have you written any accident investigation, Prince, before? Have you witnessed any accident investigation?
Yes, I have.
Yes.
As but yes.
So, you know, you will almost bite yourself if they start pointing that you did not do one small thing. You know, you have to be able to convince yourself that you've done everything within your powers to prevent it. When the accident happened, I don't have a problem with that, but did you do your best? Yes. And if it's keeping a lookout to hear by side, I've had pirate attack before. And the reason for that pirate attack was the guys that were keeping lookout went to watch football. We had anchor, they just went to watch football. You can imagine. Nobody was keeping lookout. And pirate came on board. And they actually left the Scala, the parallel ladder. They didn't even take it in. And those guys they didn't even struggle. You know, I will tell about that story later. They wanted to shoot our kneecap, our elbow, our ankle. I was thinking on the floor, where's my elbow? Where's my ankle? You know, and all that. And just because the guys did not keep lookout, they couldn't even alert. They went to watch football. So it is not, we are not trying to create a horror movie scene here. We're just trying to discuss and say, yes, it's applicable. If not done out of malice, if done for the profession, it is applicable. I think
Let's wake up.
Thank you very much. Captain Caleb, I think we'll round up. I have something I prepared here. I'll drop it. This is in preparation for next class, 6A, rule 6A. I will used to remember it. Oh, sorry, let me drop it to everyone. It's called VD make big willy drip. So that's I remember 6. V visibility, you know, visibility, D density, maneuverability, you know, and all that. So this is our own code of remembering this rule 6A. I've dropped it down. But anyway, thank you, Captain Caleb. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. I really appreciate. So see you guys next week. Thank you very much, Captain Tayo.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
thanks,
everyone.
Captain. Thanks, Captain Caleb. Today has been interesting. Before we go, from the mountain, we've gone to the mountain. We seek permission. We've been having a lot of classes, and like I said, Captain Tayo is coming to give us another class boost next week. Upper week will be, I think that will be 5th, if I'm not wrong. I'll just check the calendar again. Yeah, 5th of October. We're going to be having 2 candidates, one OW, one chief mate, and this time no lecture. It's orals. But the interesting part is, if you get a pass, you get a giveaway. So there's going to be a lovely giveaway down there. Let me know who will be interested. You can just pop it up to me. But if you fail, the examiner will not collect any money for you, but you are not collecting no giveaway for you. So it's going to be a nice preparation. Every question, every doubt that you have, bring it down to next class. Let's be encouraged. Pass it on. And the 2 candidates, like I said, one chief mate, one OW, and we get them on a giveaway task to see how they'll win. And honestly, like I said, this is really a rare privilege, and I'd like us to study the rules of the road, come back here and pour out all your questions. I love the questions from the lookouts, but when they say lookout, all available means, of course, safety included as well, and security as well. We secure everywhere, but we have to balance safety and security. That's another story for another day. But in everything we do, we balance safety, but as well, we should not, in any case, compromise on lookout or safety or security. So next week again, it will be Captain Tayo.
It's fine, no.
Giving us his best boost. He's already prepared for us. Now, next 2 weeks, it's going to be, let's see how the race will be interesting. With that, I'll say thanks, Captain Captain Tayo. Thanks, Captain Caleb. Tonight was really, yeah, it was really a lot, and I learned new things even
Thank you
tonight
very
as
much.
well. Thanks so much. Thanks,
Thank you, sir.
whether you be the one that will, win the giveaway prize. Prince, thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Mike,
I agree to you.